The human brain, a pulpy mass of cells and fibers, is the center of the network of fibers that make up man's nervous system.
We don't find dead bears, we don't find dead mountain lions, but we know they exist.
Scientists have only lately been able to study
the noise coming from that creature.
And you know it's not some guy in a costume.
Hey Nate, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
All right.
You're very prompt.
Oh,
You get points for that.
thank you. I try to be. So how long are you thinking? Like, what's your time frame?
For this?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm yours.
Oh, cool. Okay.
For as long as you need.
Yeah, I was thinking around like 45 minutes to a half an hour. Or, sorry, to 1 hour.
Okay.
If we could pull that off. If not, it's absolutely fine.
I'll talk really slow. That way it'll work. Yeah, you can always slow us down in post.
Yeah, exactly.
You can do your commercials.
Right, yeah.
Jingles,
Yep.
Product placement.
Right. All my sponsors that I have.
That's right.
Yeah.
Do you really have sponsors?
No.
Oh. Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I
All the
wish.
money was-
Yeah, that'd be great. That's my plug for the episode. That's
I wish I had sponsors like Audible
exactly
or Squarespace.
right. I just bought one of those recently, actually. One of those little for the phone.
Oh, we can do credit cards?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I haven't used it yet. I'm waiting because I'm going to a few conventions where I'm actually selling some of my art and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, actually like paranormal and crypto related ones too.
Wow.
So I'm excited for that.
So are they local?
Yeah, mostly I'm from Maine, so they're all sort of
Yes.
Maine, New Hampshire ones.
Nice. Is
But-
it snowy up there?
Yeah, it's actually pretty awful here right now. It's like freezing rain.
Yeah, we got rain that we.
Right. Yeah.
I saw animals in pairs going down the road.
Right.
A big boat. I don't know what it means.
Yeah. Oh man. So do you want to give a little introduction for yourself, or?
I'm Rick Spears. I'm a cryptid paleo artist, and I live in Georgia. I've been doing this for about 30 years now, and it's a lot of fun. I don't know. I like any other job. After 20 minutes, it's work.
Right, yeah. So yeah, how'd you sort of get into art, and I guess through that cryptozoology, or whichever order that was?
Okay, well, I've always done artwork my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had an office job, and he'd bring home used Xerox paper, and I would draw on the back of it.
Oh yeah.
And my big thing then was submarines. I don't know, I was just obsessed with submarines.
Right.
You know, 5-year-old me drawing submarines. And but I always loved dinosaurs too.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, you know, I got into other things like Star Wars. So I was always drawing Star Wars, but in the back of my mind, I always had something, a little love of dinosaurs that never really went away.
Right.
And then when I got out of college, I actually got a job where they wanted me to draw dinosaurs, and that just rekindled everything I'd ever had my whole life. And I started drawing dinosaurs all the time, and you know, finding out what was out there as far as paleo art. Now, get
Right.
this was like about 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, nobody else does dinosaur art. I can be a dinosaur artist.
Right.
And little did I know, a lot of people were doing it, and a lot of people were doing it better than me. But I kept plugging away, and I luckily got into a museum situation.
Mm-hmm.
They needed somebody to, be their exhibits person, and they didn't know any better, and they hired me. And so I kind of learned on the job on how to do exhibits and build models, professional models for museums. And at one point, I had a little section of the exhibit hall that it was just like a throwaway section. It's like no major exhibit could go there.
Right.
And I decided to do something on Georgia's cryptids. At first it was going to be Bigfoot.
Right.
And then I looked up Georgia cryptids and found the Altamaha-ha, or Alti as I like to call them.
Right.
And made a model and did an exhibit about that, and it just took off from there as far as getting into cryptid creatures, and that's where they came from.
Wow. So, because I would say you're one, I don't know many researchers, like prominent researchers of Alti. So would you say you're one of the main researchers of it, or?
Well, as far as appearance would go, as far as, taking eyewitness accounts,
right,
and extrapolating what it might look like from that. As far as appearance, yeah, I've done a lot of research into what it might look like.
Right.
I've never seen it myself. I've talked to some people that had seen it. And so I said, well, I built a life-size model of it about 20 feet long.
Right.
And this one older one, and they said, well, Mrs. Smith here saw it about 50 years ago. And I said, oh, is it close? And she goes, So I'm like, okay, well, I didn't please Mrs. Smith, but
right.
I designed it off of other eyewitness accounts.
Right.
Mrs. Smith, had I known her, I would have put her in there and got her opinion. But
right. So do you want to give people a little description of what Alti is?
Yeah, this is an animal that lives in the Altamaha River, or in that area, which is on the coast of Georgia, down below Savannah, in a little town called Darien.
Right.
Coastal city there. And at one time it was just rife with, I think, rice plantations or something like that, because all these canals are dug through there and they crisscross and everything off of the Altamaha River. And this animal has been reported since before the settlers got there. There's actual Native American reports of this water animal. But it is described as being about 20 feet long as far as the adult goes. Long neck and tail, head about the size of a football.
Oh, wow.
With yellow eyes. Lighter on top than it is on the bottom, of course. But its back is described like a tire tread.
Oh, so really bumpy.
Yeah, bumpy, kind of like almost like a pattern to it.
Right. Yep.
And the tail, no hind legs. It's got front flippers, no hind legs, and the tail ends in kind of a trident.
Oh, yeah.
A diamond shape.
Right.
I should say. And there's been reports of it, hunting, showing its child, its pup, how to hunt.
Oh, really?
One report has had these guys seen this thing on a sandbar on the side of the river, and it was just thrashing, and then they realized it was giving birth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, fishermen, there's a lot of eel fishermen there on the river. They've reported seeing it. College students have seen it.
Yeah. And do eyewitness descriptions remain pretty consistent?
That's the thing. They're very consistent. Sometimes it says it's helicopter shaped, meaning it's bigger in the front than in the back.
Right. Yep.
But all of them are really consistent. That's the thing that got me when I was reading these reports. It's like the descriptions there's like a theme through it, and they're all seeing the same thing basically.
Right. Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and one thing that's kind of it leads me to believe that it's a real thing is when they describe the locomotion. Everybody says, oh, it swam up and down rather than side to side. And, that's a mammalian trait.
I was going to say, yeah, that's like dolphin or whale.
Exactly. Or, a seal.
Yeah,
type
yeah,
thing.
Exactly.
So, in one report, I remember, said it was in the winter, like December, and this thing came to the surface, and it broke the surface for a breath, and steam came out.
Oh, wow.
Condensation makes me think, all right, it's warm-blooded.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
It's got hot breath. So, the locomotion thing, I don't think anybody would make that up. Right.
It's a very specific thing to keep consistent throughout.
Yeah, and if you were like saying you saw this scaly thing, you might think, oh, it's reptilian.
Right. Yeah.
And it's going to be like, the undulating side to side thing rather than undulating up and down. So
Right.
That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of the more interesting aquatic cryptids, I would
Yes.
say, especially for how consistent the eyewitness descriptions are.
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the descriptions kind of, it's nothing, out of the ordinary. It's something that could, all of these things, description elements, could fit a real animal.
I was gonna say it does sound very biologically plausible compared to a lot of other
Exactly.
cryptids. Yeah.
What always gets me is about the Loveland frog.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know if you know about
Yep.
that thing. It's like, because could you describe this thing? Well, it was about 4 feet tall. It looked like a frog on its hind legs. It had big dark eyes. Anything else? Oh yeah, it had a sparkling wand.
Right.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It's just like, that
Yeah.
kind of ruins it right there.
Which is weird that upright frog didn't really draw any red flags there.
Yeah, bells and whistles there.
Yeah. Now even then, I think the Loveland frog's also an interesting case.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't recall there being a lot of sightings.
No.
I do think there's only like a small handful.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And it was just like a quick thing. It was like they were there and then they were over the over the guardrail or whatever it was. And
Right.
they were
Yep.
gone.
Yeah. Exactly. I will say I love your depiction of the Loveland frog
Oh.
in Tales of the Crypt. That's one of the books that got me interested in cryptozoology was Tales of the Cryptids, and it was
Oh, yeah?
like 90% because of your art.
Wow.
So-
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Yeah. So how do you go about designing your cryptids? Because there's a lot of, especially in the back of Tales of the Cryptids, there's a lot of different cryptids in the back.
Yes. Well, I approached it like you would if you're doing a restoration of a prehistoric animal,
Right.
except you don't have any skeleton to base it off of.
Right.
So you just kind of have to go by the descriptions of what it is, and all these things, whatever people are seeing, whether they're seeing this cryptid thing or they're seeing something that they think is a cryptid, it exists in our world and it follows the rules of physics in our world.
Absolutely.
And, it's going to have to eat and drink and poo
Right.
and reproduce and do all these things.
Right.
It's going to eventually sleep. It's going to be a baby at one time. So you just apply everything from our world
Yes.
to these weird cryptid things.
That's something I love about Cryptid Creatures too. The book, the newer book. I think that came out September.
Yes.
I love that you guys added the baby versions of the cryptids in it.
That was probably my favorite part. Was doing the babies. Yeah. And that actually sprang from another book idea we had.
Oh, really?
But we just kind of incorporated it into this one, and I think it worked out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And your reconstructions, or I guess your constructions of cryptids, whatever you would call that.
Preconceived notions. I don't.
Right. Yeah. Come from eyewitness descriptions, folkloric descriptions, depending on the creature.
Yes.
And then even photographs of like Sasquatch and are there any pictures of Alti? I don't know. I feel like you would know.
I have not seen any pictures. I've seen video
Oh yeah.
that's been attributed to Alti, but I think it's a manatee with a tail that's been cut up by a propeller.
Oh, I've seen that one. That's the where it kind of is like it is sort of lurching out of the water and slapping its tail.
Yeah, you see it's almost like at water level.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
you see it thrash around.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this thing about this is something else we run into.
Yeah,
when we're
absolutely.
Doing these the look of these animals is that I did this version of Alti based on eyewitness reports that I had read, and there's this guy that is just like, no, that's all wrong. You've got it all wrong. It looks like a big gar. It's a more fish-like thing, and he's just every time somebody posted a picture of my model or something, he'd say, no, that's not right. That's not right.
Right.
We don't know where he's going. But the thing is, I think people have seen the one with the long neck, the long tail, and they're calling it Alti. Well, I think where he is, or what the camp he's in, people are seeing this thing that it's different. It's a different animal, but they're still calling it the Altamaha-ha.
Right. Yes.
So I think it's just two different animals that are given the same name. So that's why I think there's always a conflict of
Totally. Yeah.
What looks right or what looks wrong. It's because it's two different animals, but they're just, because of the area, they're given the same name.
Yeah,
so
especially
I think that happens sometimes.
Yeah, no, I totally think that's the case. Even in like, this may be a little more controversial, I guess, but in Loch Ness, a lot of the first sightings of the Loch Ness monster did not describe plesiosaur like animals. I think the very first one was the Spicer sighting, and I think the 30s, and it was pretty much like an invertebrate. It was like a blob that just sort of like moved across the road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And you see a lot of pictures of it. It's more like an eel.
Yes.
Than any kind of dinosauroid looking thing.
Right.
Or there's so much going on with that.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's looking for it. It's like, God, we gotta find something.
Right. What are your thoughts on the? Do you know anything about the DNA test that they just did in Loch Ness? The environmental DNA.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's actually funny that you say eels, because they found a lot of eel DNA popped up, like significant amount of eel DNA. So everyone's like, "Oh, Nessie's a giant eel."
Yeah, now that DNA stuff that you're talking about, I just heard about that where they're going into aquatic environments. I think here in Georgia even.
Oh, really?
We have like just this vast array of amphibians in the North Georgia mountains. I think it's one of the largest collections or diversity of salamander type amphibians up there, and the hellbender, which is one of the larger ones, is people haven't seen it anymore. They're afraid it may be going extinct.
Oh, right.
But like you said, they can test the water.
Yeah.
And find out what is living there. So yeah, same thing with that. I didn't realize they'd done it there, but yeah, that's so cool.
And you can pretty much get a pretty detailed look at what animals actually live there. And when they did it in Loch Ness, they got not just fish and eels, but every mammal that had gone into the water. So they got
that's amazing.
Yeah, like even farm animals like pigs and sheep and stuff. So it's pretty detailed. It's pretty extraordinary.
Wow. So no giant reptile DNA.
Yeah. It was weird because there's I think a handful of it it's either unsequenced or it's so, I think it's, I don't know if it's degraded or whatever you would call that, but it was pretty much unsequenceable. So I think it was about 20%. I don't know if that's right or not, but there was still a little bit of unknown sampling that couldn't actually be, there was no final conclusion for that. So there's a little shred of hope for Nessie, if it's not a giant eel or a fish or something.
Still a bit of mystery there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, sort of going back to designing the creatures. You've got a pretty big interest in dinosaurs.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on surviving dinosaur, pterosaur, prehistoric cryptids?
Yeah, the pterosaur things, even where I live down here in Georgia, there's been reports of pterosaurs.
Right.
Which, if you've ever seen a crane flying, it looks a lot like a pterosaur.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think people are just kind of wanting it to be a pterosaur, but I'm pretty sure it's cranes around here. But things like in Africa, like Congo Mato and those flying things.
Yep.
I doubt seriously they're pterosaurs, but
right.
I've never been attacked by a flock of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of cool to think they are. If anything prehistoric-ish survives, it's going to be like in a big place like
absolutely.
Africa,
I absolutely agree. And I also love dinosaurs. I'm not just saying that because you're here. Dinosaurs have been a huge part of my life. I grew up with walking with dinosaurs in Jurassic Park and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the dinosaur ones and the prehistoric, creature ones have been a pretty big interest, but they're also the ones that I'm the most skeptical about, only because I know just the biology to keep something like that in an environment, as well as all of the
a viable population.
Yeah, absolutely. And then even then, when people do claim to see them, a lot of the sightings report outdated reconstructions of what we actually know the creatures to look like. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what happens is one of my favorites is Mokele Mbembe.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want so bad for that to be real.
Yeah.
But what I think happens is they've seen something. These natives are down there, and then when researchers come down and they show them pictures in a book,
right?
And they go, "Oh, does it look like this?" And they show them a bunch that like it couldn't be, but then they get to something like a sauropod type thing. They go, "Well, how about this?" And then by that time people are going, "Yeah, okay, I guess so."
Right.
So they're just kind of like, I guess, wanting to shut up or something.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe they just are just kind of like saying, well, I guess it could have looked like that. And
right.
Because either through translation or what. But
yeah.
I'm sure you've heard that report where the pygmies supposedly killed and ate one.
Oh, and its skin was poisonous, or its meat was.
All sick.
Yeah.
I think they all died, didn't they?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awful. But
yeah.
What else is gonna make you sick like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's that big. So
yeah.
It's something. The people are seeing something, a big animal, but
right.
It's like what it is. I don't know. I once saw a documentary where this guy went down in search of it.
Right.
They never found it because they were looking for it.
Right.
And they did find like just these immense snakes. I mean, that was pretty fantastic in itself.
Yeah.
But they never found Mokele.
Right. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that are most interesting to me, I know there's one in America and there's one in Australia called the Beringer, but it's the theropod ones that are interesting to me. And they're also the ones that I'm the most skeptical of.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like an animal that big. That would take a pretty significant blow to the population of animals, I would think.
Oh yeah.
Like I think you'd be able to chart, its hunting grounds, I would think.
Yes.
Or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, because those big predators, even lion to prey ratios, you got to have a lot of food there. And
yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, what's it eating?
Right.
Maybe part of these cattle mutilations are really just half-eaten cows.
Right, yeah.
Theropod prey.
Right. So do you want to talk about sort of shifting gears a little bit, still crypto, but
sure.
What is it like for you to work on, books like Tales of the Cryptids and the Sasquatch, what is it, Cryptid Creatures, what's the Sasquatch one I think you did? In Search of Sasquatch. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
What's it like to just take on projects like that and work on so many different pieces of art?
Yeah, they are kind of art heavy.
Right.
I think the record though might be Cryptid Creatures, because there was 50 and then each had 3 drawings with it, so 150 is my max.
Right.
But it's real sketchy. It's not really kind of finished art, but
yeah, but they're still really detailed and amazing.
Yeah, you know what? Our original intention was to do that as like a field guide. Well, it's supposed to be field guide.
Right. Yeah, it totally gives off that vibe.
Like somebody had actually drawn in the pages of their book, and it's supposed to be real sketchy. But I found myself towards the end, I was getting super detailed on the drawings. It's like, yeah, okay, let's get into the shading.
Right.
And they become kind of more finished pieces of art. But,
right. Yeah.
I got incredibly lucky with meeting Kelly Milner Halls.
Oh yeah. She was the one who actually referred me to you for this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and interview her tomorrow, but we're trying to set up an hour to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, she referred me to you and had great things to say about you. So.
Yeah, well, she's on my payroll, so.
Right.
It's okay. She's doing a good job. I have to give her a raise.
Right.
But yeah, I met her and got to work on a project with her to start with, and then she's been really, really I've got a guy for you.
Right.
And she actually talks to publishers into using my art, which has been really
Oh, that's
fantastic.
awesome.
There was one book that we talked about and I really wanted to work on. It was about dinosaur babies.
Aw.
But the publisher went with somebody else, which is fine.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Like, oh man, I really wanted to do that one.
Right.
But it's good. It's the publishers that are wanting to do this type of book. I mean, they're kind of like, they're not experts about
Right,
it.
yeah.
Just, they want to get a cool book out for kids.
Right. Yep.
They're really open to suggestions, and as far as listening to what we have to say about the direction the book should go, or the artwork, or something, or what if we did this or that.
Right.
Especially on Tales of the Cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like just said, hey, you could do a page like this. I kind of sketched it out, and then that kind of became the look of the book.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's so cool. But as far as doing the artwork, so far the publishers have been really generous.
Well, that's great.
Just letting us kind of do our own thing.
Right. That's awesome. So, how much of a consultant is she with the cryptid designs, or is it all you?
I'm pretty much just left alone.
Oh yeah.
And if any changes are needed, I would gladly do it.
Right.
The only time that ever happened was in a dinosaur book.
Oh yeah.
I had to change an illustration at the request of the publisher because they were thinking one thing and I was thinking another. But,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they've been pretty much hands off and have been really receptive with what I've done so far. And I'm willing to work with whatever changes they've had, but they haven't had any.
Right. Yes. Well, that's
Yes.
good.
So,
Yeah. Are you working on any upcoming projects?
well, not book-wise, but I make models all the time for different places, museums and collectors. And
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, I saw your on Facebook, not the Gorgosaurus. What was it called?
Oh yeah, the baby Appalachians.
Yes. Right.
Is Georgia's. Their
Yeah.
mod. Actually belongs to Alabama.
Oh yeah.
Kind of share dinosaur country with them.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I'm doing those, but I at home I work at those at work, and then I come home and I work on things.
Mm-hmm.
So right now it's all 3D stuff.
Right. Right.
We've talked about doing Kelly and I have talked about
Yep.
doing a book just on baby cryptids, kind of fleshing out that idea, but
Oh yeah.
I don't know how soon anybody would want to do that,
Right.
on the heels of Cryptid Creatures.
Right. So I guess going back to solely cryptozoology,
Yes.
what are the cryptids that most interest you? Not only in doing art, but sort of like researching more.
Yeah, I of course enjoy the Bigfoots.
Right. Yeah.
I like those type things. I just recently found a West Georgia Bigfoot organization
Oh, there you go.
that they have of course a Facebook presence.
Right.
But through them, I found there's like 4 or 5 Bigfoot pages and people doing their own thing. I didn't know that West Georgia
Right.
had Bigfoot activity, but a lot of photos of, I don't know what they call them, where they take trees and bend them over.
Oh, yeah.
formations and
Yep, I know what you mean.
sculptures and type things. Yeah, I can't remember the proper name for that, but there's a lot of that going on. Sometimes
Right.
you look at the picture and go, yeah, that was a high wind, but then you look at other things and you're like, well, that's pretty interesting, and then you look at other things and think, wow, no human could have built that.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, it's fun to think about, and I actually have a track cast
Oh wow.
from from the Elkins River, which is I think more south of here.
Right.
And he was actually taken by a sheriff. He made
Oh,
the
really?
cast himself, and it's been examined, and it's thought to have dermal ridges of
Oh,
an
yeah.
unknown primate.
Yeah.
But this is a copy of a copy, so I don't
Right.
know how well it shows up. So anyway, yeah, there's been Bigfoot activity here in my state for a while, and we also have, I've got to do a little plug,
Yeah. No problem.
the coolest museum called Expedition Bigfoot, and it's in the North Georgia mountains, and I tell people about it and they go, yeah, Bigfoot museum,
Yeah.
but it is extremely well done.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I was actually planning to go there around Christmas because I was going to go visit my grandparents. Actually live in North Carolina, and they were.
It's worth it.
Yeah, they were like, "Yeah, we're definitely going to go if you come down."
That's very good. Yeah, there's a lot of Bigfoot activity here in my own state, and that's not counting all the other states around that probably have similar. Now, that being said, my second favorite, of course, is the Mokele Mbembe.
Right. Yep.
But I think the most likely something out there is probably any of the aquatic animals.
I agree. Yeah, especially in like the ocean.
Yes, absolutely. There's just such a perfect environment that we have just scratched the surface of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or splashed the surface of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just begging for something to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's places there we haven't even gone. Like
exactly.
Yeah. So who knows what big Godzilla monster could be sleeping under there. Or even a little thing.
I hope he's a little Godzilla monster.
Right, yeah.
Because then you also got to think, there was this one cryptid, it's a giant octopus, and the guys, this was long ago, hundreds of years ago, they were saying this thing, its tentacles went on for miles. Well, yeah, it might have seemed like miles, but no animal is going to have mile-long tentacles.
Right, yeah.
And there's not going to be a Godzilla-like monster because it wouldn't be able to hold its weight.
Yeah, yes, biologically, yeah.
yeah, you always have to look at the mechanics. It's fun. I love Godzilla. Don't
Absolutely, yeah.
But even dinosaurs have their limits.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
You can only get so big.
Right, and isn't there's some I don't know if it's a rule, but I've heard one of the reasons there aren't animals as big as there were when there were dinosaurs was something to do with the atmosphere. Is that, I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, there was supposedly a higher oxygen content.
Right.
Back then, another rule I've heard of is that there was less gravity.
Oh, right.
That's something to do with the core.
Right.
Causing spinning faster now, or causing more gravity, or slowing down. I don't know.
Is that accurate in any way?
I have no way of knowing. You'd have to ask a physicist to that.
Right.
But it's cool to think about. But
yeah.
Another thing is there was more room back then.
That's yeah.
You think about these herds of dinosaurs, but they were still they had lots of room to run around.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know. I wasn't there.
Right. That's fair. So what have we talked about? Upcoming projects? Yes, we did.
No books, but
no books.
Plenty of models.
Right.
I tell you, cryptid-wise, I shouldn't say it.
No, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'll tell you.
Okay.
But then you can decide whether it should be.
If it's too touchy, you don't have to.
Well, I'm.
Then you don't need to say any more if you don't want to.
Okay. Just you can say there's a special Bigfoot project coming up.
Right. Okay. Special Bigfoot project from Rick Spears.
SBF.
Right.
We've got an SBF coming up this year.
Right.
And I'm actually taking my collection of casts and things and doing a Bigfoot exhibit at my work, which is in the Science Center, which is like pulling teeth because they go, oh, it's just pseudoscience. I said, well, pseudoscience is still science, just pseudo-y.
Right. Well, and even then, back then, I think psychology was considered pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things that are science now are considered pseudoscience.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to attack it from the aspect that I'm just going to say, this is what we know. Right. Make up your own mind. So I'm not going to say that they're real or anything.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, I think that's the perfect way to play it, honestly.
Show the casts and here's what a Gigantopithecus look like. Right. Are they related? Which I don't think so. But
I don't either, honestly.
Really? Okay, good.
Yeah. No.
I hear so much about this. It's like, oh well, it could have come over on the land bridge.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying, you have no idea how relieving that is to hear. Because every time my dad and I are watching Bigfoot shows and we see the Gigantopithecus skull, we just look at each other and we're just like, here we go.
Yeah. No, it's kind of cool. It existed. It's a real thing, but there's no way it could have become Bigfoot. I mean,
Well,
did Bigfoot shrink?
Yeah.
And you know, its toe moved around to the front like
Yeah,
our feet.
exactly. Well, here's what frustrates me.
10,000 years, I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Here's what frustrates me. Whenever we see that on TV or in a book or anything like that, it makes me want to scream, why Sasquatch and not the Yeti?
Yes.
Because the Gigantopithecus lived in India, I believe, China,
Yeah.
and that's closer to where Yeti sightings are than where Sasquatch is.
Exactly.
And Yetis are even described as being more ape-like with ape-like feet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I always just want to scream Yeti when people say that they think Giganto is Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Or Sasquatch is
Giganto,
Giganto.
if it was as big as they extrapolate from the teeth and jaws,
Right.
maybe it was like regular size, but it had a really huge head.
Right.
No. But
Or just a big
thing
mouth.
was so big, it would have had to, be a quadruped.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they actually just did, well, I forget what kind of science they did to it, but I think they just figured out that its closest living relative was actually orangutan.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm not saying it would have looked like a big orangutan, but it would probably look more like an orangutan than a gorilla.
Yes.
So
you're right.
yeah.
Because there's also another skull of this thing called Shivapithecus.
Yes.
Which
Yep.
is actually more of the face, and it's
Right.
it's an orangutan.
Right.
Paleo orangutan.
Yes. Wow. Sorry, that's just I've never heard anyone say that before. That's really refreshing.
It's like, no way.
Right.
But then, what does that do? Well, where did Bigfoot come from?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
No.
That is
Still
a really
could have come on the land bridge. Still could have been over there in Asia. Just,
right. Well, I think most of the large mammals came over from Asia into America, unless I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, like the mastodons
Yes. Yeah.
and stuff. Giant ground sloths.
I was gonna say I heard something. I could be incorrect about this, but I heard it was pretty much a lot of smaller, not small, but smaller animals pretty much came over on the land bridge and then just got bigger.
Well, because of all that oxygen in
Right.
North America. Well,
Right.
But no, I was gonna say the giant ground sloths. Those came up from South America.
Right. Yes.
So you had all these things, this influx of things below us and above us coming in, and hey, maybe Bigfoot came from South America. Although there's nothing down there that.
I was gonna say, to my knowledge, I don't think.
Yes. Once again, wasn't there.
Yeah.
Can't swear to it.
Right.
But, yeah.
So I guess sort of going back, you were talking about pseudoscience a little bit. What are your thoughts on cryptozoology being plastered as a pseudoscience?
Yeah, that's kind of a shame. I think it needs to be given more validity because what is science? But you're asking questions and you're researching and you're looking for answers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just because you haven't found that answer yet doesn't make it not science. The whole process is science. It's not your conclusion.
Right.
It's just because we don't have any hard evidence for some of these things.
Right.
Again, like I said, it's a process. It's like you're doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's still a science. It's just it kind of gets to me because I was on a board of a museum.
Oh, right.
A conference. What do you call it? Board of a museum club.
Right.
Oh no, it's a museum organization.
Okay, got it.
And I wanted the people that do the Bigfoot Museum to come do a talk. We were looking for a speaker. I said, these people would be perfect because it's like something they love that they started a museum with, and it's really taken off. And,
right.
It's a great success story. And it's like, oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that because it's it's like we have a reputation to uphold or something. They would say that, but they were like alluding to that. I'm like, why? Because it's Bigfoot? It's still a museum. It's still a success story, but it's like people just have this stigma about it.
Yeah, it's weird too because if you look at known animals from a historical perspective before they were discovered. Science really likes to forget that they were all once literally legends and considered monsters before they were discovered. Like mountain gorillas were literally thought to be like wild men that lived in the woods.
Exactly, I use that example all the time for people.
The giant squid was thought to be the kraken, a sea monster. What was the other one? Oh, and I like these ones because these are sort of lesser known, but they still have a solid history to them. Was the giant panda used to be thought of as a spirit that lived in the bamboo forests before they were actually discovered.
Wow.
Yeah, and giraffes were thought through animal trading with China, exotic animal trading. I forget what era, but well before they were considered real catalog species. Giraffes were actually thought to be Chinese unicorns, or what are they called? Kirin or Qilin, which are half dragon, half unicorn. They weren't even thought to be. They were thought to be dragon unicorns, essentially.
Well, what else? The okapi.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, it was the same thing. They thought it was a unicorn type thing, but
right.
Now we know better.
Yeah, even recently, there was one. I forget what it was called. I think it was last December or around that time. I might be incorrect about that. There was a new species of amphibian that was called a leopard. I think it's called a leopard eel or leopard salamander, and it was. I think that was in North America actually, where it was a legend. It was literally a campfire story called. I think it was called a leopard eel. Until they actually, found it and cataloged it as a known amphibian species, and that was literally like last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just until there's something you can hold in your hand or have a picture of. Or,
right. Yeah.
I guess people aren't gonna consider it real science.
Do you have any closing words at all? If not, that's fine. That's on the spot.
Spay and neuter your pets. No, but I really appreciate you talking to me.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was surprised how fast you got back to me.
Oh, well,
honestly, that was like.
Else to do. This is it for me, man. It's my chance to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
No, it's my pleasure. I absolutely love talking about it, and especially to knowledgeable persons as yourself.
Oh, thank you.
That's always a treat. Because you get interviewed by some people and then it's like,
yeah. I try not to be like that.
Color?
Yeah, I try to not let. I try to let people speak for themselves and ask. I try to ask questions that not a lot of people tend to ask, but.
Now, let me ask your opinion on something.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Patterson-Gimlin film.
Ah, okay. What are my thoughts on it?
Yeah. Then I'll tell you mine.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally think, I don't think it's a costume. I won't say, that's kind of like, if you say it's not a costume, then you're kind of saying it's a living creature. I'm inclined to believe that it's not a person in a suit, only because of what I've seen of the proportions and enhanced versions where you can actually see muscles in the face itself moving, not only the thighs, which people focus on a lot, or you can actually see muscles in the face moving, or what would be muscles, and there's some enhanced frames where you can actually see the mouth opening. I think it's only a couple frames or one frame, but to me it's definitely there. So I would say if there's any piece of Sasquatch video evidence that is not a suit, it would most likely be that one. Sorry, that's kind of like a little abstract and not.
No, it's cool.
Right.
I was all for it being, a creature.
Right.
Until I saw the stabilized footage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there is one, maybe 2 or 3 frames.
Okay.
Where it's walking and it takes a step and there are wrinkles that do not follow muscles.
Really?
That go, if you look at the hip, imagine where if somebody was wearing shorts.
Yes.
And it wrinkles across the thigh rather than with the thigh.
Ah.
And it's just that one little piece right there makes
right.
me, God, I think that's a fabric.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
The only thing. So I'm thinking maybe one of the worst things they could have done was stabilize the footage.
Right.
But it's the one thing that bothers me. That's the only thing that bothers me about it. And when you get a chance, just take a look at it.
Absolutely. Maybe you could email me the specific stabilized footage and point out where it is, or I'll look.
But
that's awesome.
I just recently saw some other footage that's supposed to be like good footage, but then I'm thinking, all right, would Bigfoot who lives in the woods,
right?
Would he be watching where he's stepping?
Right.
I think this is like somebody in a suit it's a good suit. They're moving like
right
across, but it's like you could tell he's like watching where he's stepping.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, can you not see out of the mask?
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of the more newer, because we just had a handful of new videos, didn't we? Like within the past few weeks. There was that security footage on the highway, which turned out to be nothing. I think there was one walking across like a ski trail that was in the news that also ended up being a person in a suit. And I think we just got one from, I want to say, Ohio, that everyone's also saying is a person in a suit. So, and yeah, he's also walking pretty clumsily through the woods. So.
It's like you should be an expert at this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'll try to find that other.
Yeah.
Stabilized footage. It's just the one thing. Everything else, I'm like what you said. It's like you can see things moving.
Right. Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, it's like, oh.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, totally. I love looking at both sides of these things. I think that's how we get. That's my philosophy. That's how we get to the truth. It's not to prove or disprove something, and to have and not to be biased towards anything else. It's to find what the truth actually is.
And even if that was a person in a suit, that doesn't negate Bigfoot.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally think there is something to the Sasquatch phenomenon, whatever it is, because I don't think there are just some sightings, especially the circumstantial evidence of some of them. Is just, I don't think everyone would fake, would lie, personally.
Yeah, and the audio stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I was just, I literally, like a few hours before I called you, I was actually looking into 3 clips of Bigfoot audio from, 2 of them were from the 70s and from Washington, and then one was from more recently, I think the 90s, and was from California, I believe. But I'll send them to you. And they pretty much all sound like they're being made from the same animal, and they're definitely not coyotes or bear or anything. They literally sound like a person. It sounds like a woman screaming, but with a lower pitch.
Wow.
And they all sound like they're from the same animal.
This Kelly, ask her about it, because she's the one who told me.
Yeah.
But this one guy had not footage, audio footage.
Right.
Right.
I would just say audio. An audio recording.
Audio. Yeah, recording. Sorry, my brain's.
No.
I haven't had dinner yet. So.
No, it's fine. I'll edit it. Don't worry. I'm pretty good at my skills.
Or I can just say audio recording.
There we go. We got it. Cut.
Where this guy has this incredible stuff, and one of them sounds like talking.
Oh yes, that's the I think that's the Sierra sounds.
Is that it?
Yes, I think that was that one from like the 70s, I believe.
I don't know when.
But but it does sound
incredible.
It does sound like language, right?
Yes.
Yes, look up the Sierra sounds. I think that's what you're
Sierra
talking
sounds.
about. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, no, that one's a pretty fantastic one too, because I think people are looking into that audio more, and it's been pretty prominent within Bigfoot research, but people are really taking the technology to look into it more within the past couple of years, and they've actually found that a person doesn't have like the vocal range to throw the high pitches and the low pitches that fast.
Right.
So that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, that stuff is it's very I always kind of get the chills on the back of my neck.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, ooh, that sounds like something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. I couldn't imagine honestly hearing that.
That would be so scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I get freaked out when I hear a coyote across the street.
Oh yeah. Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming onto my show.
Oh, I'm so pleased to be here.
Yeah, this was a blast.
I love what you've done with the place. It looks great.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you.
All right, sir. Talk to you later.
Have a great night, Rick.